Hi there, everybody. Welcome to 8 Minutes with Chef Mel. Today I am joined by my friend Casey Bauer, who in another episode had walked us through the basics of making very nourishing bone broth at home. But today, Casey's going to walk us through some basics on baking with sourdough, making sourdough breads and different things like that. And this is actually something that I have not done myself yet. So I'm actually really excited to hear a little more about it. So I'm actually going to turn it over to you, Casey.
Okay.
And if you can kind of just walk us through, that would be great.
All right. So I found that sourdough, cooking with sourdough or maintaining a sourdough starter is kind of like having a pet.
Okay.
It's not a very demanding pet. It's a very forgiving pet. And you can eat it.
Hey,
it's great. It's still there for you. So I got interested in this because my kids were having trouble with wheat. And we found that when wheat is fermented, which is what is happening when you make sourdough, it changes the structure of it chemically, and it actually becomes easier to digest. So most people find that sourdough is easier to digest than regular baked goods made with wheat.
Okay, so how would we get started?
So to get started, you can either find someone who has a starter and get a little scoop from them. Half a cup is more than enough.
And the starter's a liquidy kind of a...
So I have some here, and it is sort of a gooey paste, really. So what this is...
And I can zoom in on that for you.
What this is, it has sort of a personality here. You can see this is just flour and water.
Okay.
And time.
It's
the time it takes.
Use.
So what I like to do is I have my starter. See, it's right nice and gooey, and you can tell that this, when it's gooey like that, you can tell that it's very happy.
Yep.
It's ready to do. It's ready to work.
And what would it look like? For example, can you just hold that up for me one more time and just show that? Yeah.
So, it's sort of it. It's not just flour and water. You can see it's not behaving just like flour and water. It has something else going on, and that's the yeast. And the hang of it after a short time, and I was making beautiful loaves of bread, almost as good as Mama do.
That's a big statement, too.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It was very satisfying, and it's not something I could do,
It's a food of love.
A day or two
Absolutely.
a week, but it was really fun to be able to produce something that wonderful. But the sourdough, the yeast gives it a wonderful flavor you don't get from commercial yeast.
Yep.
You just cannot get the same effect. And so I like to proof things for a long time. So I'll use when you're keeping it just to make quick baking goods like pancakes. You don't need to be very worried about how fresh it is, how active it is, or if it's sort of tired. Because what you're doing is you're feeding it flour and water in equal parts by weight, and so I find that a scale is indispensable.
And now I have a scale like this at home. But for the people at home, this type of a scale, and if you hold that up...
It cost me about $15.
Yeah.
And I actually use it for lots of things.
It's very easy to use. There's only 2 buttons. It's very similar to the one I use for my baking as well. And again, a very small investment if this were something that you wanted to start.
Right.
So you have your starter, and you've got flour and water.
Yes.
And I will say as well that we're giving you an overview, but all of the the details are also on Casey's blog as well. So she's gonna walk you through these last couple of details, but you can get all of the information on her blog, which is visible right now on the bottom of the on the bottom of your screen there. So.
Right. And if you want to find everything I have there on sourdough, you can either click on food and find sourdough in a list of hot links, or you can find the sourdough in the list of keywords on the side of the page, and they'll be easy. They'll bring up everything. So just really quick, I just want to show these two little teeny weeny books. These were great for bread.
Okay.
When I started to
when you were just getting started.
getting into bread, these were terrific. And we'll have that come up at the end too.
Yeah, I'll show that to you guys in the credits at the end as well.
And there's some great resources. If you do try to make bread, you get into it, you'll find a lot of people are very concerned about precision, but I would say that you don't need to worry about that too much. It's only if you're a commercial bakery.
Right. So we have just a few moments left. Tell me if I've got this so far. So really, if we wanted to get started here with sourdough, it sounds to me like maybe finding somebody that already has a batch of existing starter that they can give you a scoop. Right. We would need flour and water.
Flour and water. Filtered, and you must have filtered water.
Okay.
Not from a Brita, but more. You need to get the chlorine out of it.
Okay.
Or you can use bottled water, and
Okay.
that's just for the feeding. Once you're, whipping it up to make, when you're adding stuff at the time
you're
of
in the
baking,
recipe, yeah.
you're fine. But
Okay.
when you are trying to grow the yeast, any chlorine traces in the water will kill them.
Okay, well,
So
you don't
wanna
want
do
that.
You don't want to do
So
that.
we've got a little bit of starter, some flour, water, a scale, and really those are that's all you need to get
Yeah.
started. And it sounds like if you were doing this for the very first time, that the easier projects to tackle would be things like waffles or pancakes, and not necessarily a loaf of bread that you need to rise.
Right.
Although you can definitely start there if you would like.
If you really want to, but I highly recommend trying all these other things that
and kind
are
of working up to
really
it.
very easy, and they're a great way to use the starter that you have. You have to take some of it out when you're feeding it,
Yeah.
otherwise you'll end up with a humongous quantity. And you need to be able to store it. Mine holds about 4 cups, which is just right for making pancakes and stuff like that.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have for this
Okay.
topic. But again, like if you guys, find a friend or somebody with a starter, and lots of people in the homesteading group, which will also appear in the credits, do some sourdough. And then you've got a scale, some flour, a bowl, and maybe some bottled water. Those are all the things that you really need to get started making sourdough, which is has nutritional benefits and obviously is really, really tasty. And probably your best resource is also going to be Casey and her blog, which is going to show again in the credits. Casey, thank you so much.
You're
I really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining 8 Minutes with Chef Mel. We'll see you next time.